You know it's serious when Herm Edwards, calm, calculated, Mr. You play to win the game himself, looks into the ESPN camera and says 6 words that cut deeper than any headline. Get out of Cleveland, right now. That wasn't a hot take. It was a warning. It was a coach and a former NFL lifer sending an urgent message through the screen. And he was talking directly to Shedeur Sanders. The same Shedeur who dominated college football. The same Shedeur who came into the NFL more polished than half the veterans under center. The same Shedeur who now finds himself benched in Cleveland, behind a quarterback whose contract costs more than a yacht, and whose production looks worse than a busted lawnmower. This isn't about learning curves or rookie struggles. This is about a generational talent being smothered under $230 million of corporate denial. It's about potential being drowned by dysfunction. And Herm knows exactly where this story goes, because Cleveland has written this same tragic script for decades. Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Kaiser, Baker Mayfield. Spun up, cheered loud, then left for dead. Cleveland doesn't just destroy quarterbacks. It builds tombstones for them. And now, Shedeur, young, already polished, with the poise and maturity to lead a franchise, is quietly being buried under PR strategy and contract politics. Herm didn't say it for show. He said it because survival in the NFL doesn't wait. The window closes fast, and if Shedeur's smart, he won't sit around until the whispers start, until the locker room fractures, until fans turn on him for not saving the team fast enough. If he wants to write his own story, he needs to flip the script now, because Herm Edwards saw what's coming. And this time, he said the quiet part out loud. It always starts with promise. That's the curse. Browns fans know it by heart. A new quarterback arrives. The city preps the welcome parade. Some analyst calls him the future. And everybody pretends this time will be different. But then, like clockwork, everything collapses. The offensive line falls apart. The coaching staff rotates like a revolving door at a hotel. And the quarterback? He doesn't just lose games. He loses years of potential to chaos. Now it's happening again. Only this time, the name is Shedeur Sanders. And the messed up part? He might be the most prepared rookie Cleveland's ever had. We're talking about a QB who sees the field like a veteran. Who's got next-level poise in the pocket, a clean, tight release, footwork that was NFL-ready out of the gate, and the kind of leadership that actually unites a locker room. This isn't raw potential we're talking about. This is a dude who could start for half the league right now. And yet, somehow, he's on the bench, buried behind Deshaun Watson, a $230 million fully guaranteed face of denial, and shackled by a franchise too proud or too scared to admit the obvious. They've got the guy, and they're wasting him. Cleveland isn't just slow-playing a rookie. They're suppressing a star. It's not accidental. It's political. Because playing Shedeur means admitting Watson was a mistake. And in the NFL, you'd rather lose games than lose face. Contracts speak louder than common sense. So what happens now? The same thing that always happens in Cleveland. Talent waits, politics wins. And the Browns keep losing the one game they can never afford to, the future. And for Shedeur Sanders, if he sticks around too long, he won't just lose time. He'll lose trajectory. That's how the curse works. And this time, it's showing no signs of breaking. Here's the truth no one in the Browns front office wants to say out loud. Shedeur Sanders is better right now than Deshaun Watson has looked in the last 2 years. Not in potential, in presence, in poise, in the small in-between snaps where quarterbacks become leaders, not liabilities. But guess what? None of that matters in Cleveland. Not when you're trapped behind the most unbenchable contract in pro sports. Deshaun Watson's 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed deal isn't just huge. It's untouchable. It's written in stone, signed in owner's blood, and locked inside a vault labeled PR disaster. Because if the Browns admit Watson isn't the answer, they're not just making a depth chart change. They're confessing to franchise malpractice. So now, Shedeur isn't just competing against another player. He's competing against a bank account, a GM's ego, and an organization's refusal to admit they lost a trade, a bet, and a locker room all at once. And the numbers don't lie. Watson hasn't looked like himself since before legal trouble derailed his Houston career. He's hesitant in the pocket, inconsistent with his mechanics, and emotionally checked out far too often for someone carrying one of the richest contracts in league history. But that paycheck? It's louder than any coach, exec, or stat sheet. So even when Shedeur flashes in practice, even when teammates whisper he's outplaying the starter, it doesn't move the needle. Because in Cleveland, money talks louder than merit. And Shedeur? He's stuck watching, waiting, and losing real-time growth, while the Browns burn fuel trying to justify a fire they can't put out. This isn't about development anymore. This is about delay. And worse, it's about protecting a bad investment while sacrificing a once-in-a-decade QB just to save face. When Herm Edwards looked into the camera and said, "Get out of Cleveland," it wasn't a hot take. It was a lifeline. You don't spend decades in the NFL, as a player, coach, and commentator, without seeing the brutal patterns that end careers before they ever begin. Herm's not panicking. He's predicting, because he's watched this story unfold too many times. Different name, same ending. He's seen what happens when a front office chooses politics over potential, when a promising young quarterback is told to wait his turn, while the guy ahead of him sinks the season. He's seen locker rooms fracture, fan bases turn toxic, and players, insanely talented ones, get labeled as entitled just because they asked for a shot they already earned. Herm doesn't hate Cleveland. That's not what this is about. He respects the game too much to sit quietly while a franchise publicly fumbles a rare opportunity. Again, he's not calling out Shedeur. He's calling out the machine. Because here's what veteran eyes see that most don't. A rookie QB with leadership instincts, a locker room that believes in him, a franchise pretending patience is development when it's really just delay. Herm knows what happens next if Sanders stays silent. The Browns stumble. The fans turn impatient. The media starts whispering. Maybe Shedeur isn't ready. Maybe he's just hype. And by the time the coaching staff decides to hand him the keys, the engine's already on fire. That's not development. That's sabotage by negligence. And Herm doesn't want to see one more name added to the quarterback graveyard Cleveland's already built. He knows how these stories end. And that's why his warning wasn't subtle. It was survival strategy disguised as tough love. What's happening with Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland? It's nothing new. It's just a modern face on the NFL's oldest, ugliest mistake: protecting egos instead of empowering talent. Time and time again, promising quarterbacks, especially the ones who don't come from the safe football pedigree, get benched, buried, or boxed in. Not because they aren't ready, not because they can't play, but because someone in the front office doesn't want to look wrong. And that's exactly what's happening here. If the Browns admit Shedeur Sanders is the better quarterback right now, they're also admitting that the $230 million fully guaranteed contract they gave Deshaun Watson was a mistake of historic proportions. That's not just a talent evaluation. That's a PR nightmare, a headline that would burn across every sports show from ESPN to morning radio. So they do what bad organizations do. They delay the obvious. They bench a kid with momentum, maturity, and the locker room's respect in favor of a contract and a logo on a spreadsheet. This isn't a unique Cleveland curse. It's a dangerous pattern that's ruined careers all over the league. It happened with Tyrod Taylor, with Josh Rosen, with RG3. Not always the same mistake, but always the same mindset. Protect the past, even if it means sabotaging the future. and the NFL setup rewards that behavior. GMs don't get fired for keeping a high-priced quarterback on the field. They get fired when they're asked why a rookie they didn't promote just set fire to the league somewhere else. So instead of pulling the trigger, they wait until the window closes, until the fan base loses patience, until the QB they buried quietly walks away and proves everyone wrong in another uniform. And by then, it's too late. Let's imagine the unthinkable actually happens. Shedeur Sanders doesn't wait. He doesn't sit patiently behind Deshaun Watson. He doesn't let Cleveland politics drain his potential. He asks to be traded. And suddenly, the NFL isn't just watching a quarterback controversy, it's watching a quarterback revolution. If Shedeur walks, he wouldn't just light up the rumor mill, he'd flip the league on its head. Young quarterbacks don't do this. Not this early. Not unless something is really broken, which is exactly why it would hit like a bomb. Picture it. SportsCenter opens with breaking news banners. Twitter melts down in real time. Hashtags like Free Shedeur and Cleveland Curse start trending overnight. Browns fans split down the middle, half begging him to stay, the other half blaming the front office for blowing it. Meanwhile, 20 teams are suddenly on red alert. You think GMs are going to watch a 21-year-old with franchise tools and a primetime pedigree hit the market and not make a call? The Raiders would be first in line. The Falcons? Dion's old stomping ground. The Patriots? They'd kill for charisma. Hell, even Jerry Jones would be planning the press conference before the ink dries. He'd go from benched to the most valuable young QB in the league, overnight. But more than that, he'd send a message. You don't have to rot in silence. You can walk away before the system ruins you. Before you become the next, remember when he had potential guy? And here's the scary part. If Shedeur actually leaves and thrives, every rookie quarterback after him gets permission to protect themselves first. And that would change everything. If Shedeur Sanders walks away from the Browns, he won't be the only one leaving something behind. He'll leave a crater. This isn't just about losing a talented quarterback. This is about burning the bridge to your future before you've even set foot on it. Because unlike past quarterback flops in Cleveland, Shedeur wasn't handed the keys and crashed. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't unprepared. He was ready, and they still kept him parked. When he leaves, expect chaos. Cleveland's already fragile fan base, done. The Browns have burned through post-draft optimism so many times, there's nothing left to ignite it. The moment news of a trade request hits, fans will turn like clockwork, not just against the front office, but against the entire structure. They'll burn jerseys, not Shedeur's, but Watson's, and maybe Andrew Berry's too. Inside the building, morale craters. Coaches who believed in Shedeur will wonder what the point of development is if talent doesn't get rewarded. Young players will get the message loud and clear. In Cleveland, money greater than merit. That's how culture collapses. And the media, they'll feast. Every mistake Watson makes from that moment forward becomes national news. Every losing streak becomes a referendum on the one that got away. Rumors will swirl. Internal leaks will flood out like a broken pipe. Trade packages will become urban legend. And here's the kicker. You can't recover from that. Not easily, because when a well-liked, mature, franchise-ready quarterback like Shedeur decides you're the problem, not the fit, it stains everything. Free agents get hesitant. The locker room treads lightly, and ownership becomes the meme. Again, if the Browns lose Shedeur, they're not just losing a quarterback, they're losing the last bit of hope they had left. Let's make one thing clear. Shedeur Sanders doesn't owe the Cleveland Browns a single thing. Not loyalty, not patience, not silence. Because while the franchise debates whether to play him at the right time, his future is happening right now, with or without them. He came into the league polished, prepared, and poised. The exact kind of quarterback Cleveland has spent years searching for. And now that they finally have one, they're chaining him to the sideline to protect a contract, not a contender. That's not development. That's disrespect in disguise. And Shedeur has every right to say, nah, not with my career. This league moves fast. Quarterbacks don't get 5-year windows to earn their shot anymore. If you're not growing, you're fading, and Shedeur knows it. So when Herm Edwards said, "Get out," he wasn't throwing shade. He was handing him permission. Permission to value himself before a franchise that didn't draft him to start, only to sit. Because it's not just about reps, it's about narrative. The longer Shedeur waits, the more the story slips from his hands. Bad teams break good quarterbacks, not just by misusing them, but by convincing the world they were never that good to begin with. And in Cleveland, that's happened far too often. But Shedeur isn't just another name. He's smart. He's media savvy. He carries the weight of a legacy, but walks like someone writing his own chapter. If the Browns won't give him the pen, it's on him to grab it and write somewhere else. Because staying quiet might keep the peace, but leaving might save the future. And if he walks, he won't just break the curse in Cleveland. He'll prove that in today's NFL, betting on yourself isn't risky, it's necessary.